Alright, welcome to the video. So as we know, Silverwolf is right around the corner. From what we know, she's able to debuff the enemy, defense threat, and also weakness implant. So that's what I'm going to take into consideration whenever we talk about which characters are going to work well with Silverwolf. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first character, or the characters, that I want to mention is Asta, Welt, and Sampo. The thing that these three have in common is that they have a bounce skill, which is a skill that's able to hit multiple times. The reason I think this is very good is because each hit is able to deplete the toughness bar, which means that they are able to shred shields very fast. So now with Silverwolf, when you are able to implant the weakness, you're pretty much allowing yourself to shred the shields very easily by having Silverwolf and either one of these three characters in the team. This is of course very good against one enemy, however against two enemies it can be a bit tricky, since the bounce skill of all three characters will hit randomly between all enemies. However, it can still work against multiple enemies, but it will work best against only one enemy. So let's move on to the next character, who is Pela. First off, I want to mention her talent. If the enemy is debuffed after Pela attacks, she will restore 5 energy. Pela is of course able to debuff. Her way of debuffing is by using her ultimate, which of course is pretty doable most of the time. However, if you're not able to use her ultimate, Silverwolf is actually able to debuff as well. We know that Silverwolf is able to give a buck to an enemy that will either decrease attack, decrease defense, or decrease their speed. All three of these are debuffs, which means that you are able to make use of Pela's talent. And I forgot to mention that she can debuff by using her basic attack, which means that she has easy access to just debuff the enemy whenever she wants to. Pela's bonus abilities also synergizes with Silverwolf. She will deal 20% more damage to debuffed enemies, and as I just mentioned, Silverwolf is able to debuff just with her basic attack. And this one, the secret strategy, actually helps out Silverwolf. When Pela's on a battlefield, all allies' effect hit rate increases by 10%. So this means that Silverwolf have a higher chance to weakness implant and also to debuff. So both Pela and Silverwolf will benefit from each other, which is of course very good. Now I don't want to go too in depth with her Eidolons because I don't expect anyone to have her E6, but if you do have her E6, then she will deal additional ice damage to debuffed enemies. So all in all, if Silverwolf is just able to debuff, then Pela can deal a lot of damage, while also being able to help out Silverwolf. As you probably also know, we are getting a free light cone in patch 1.1. You will probably be using this light cone on Silverwolf, which actually will make Silverwolf synergize more with Pela. And the reason is that if we take a look at the passive on the light cone, it increases the effect hit rate by 20%, and when the wearer attacks enemies that have reduced defense, regenerate 4 energy. I might not have mentioned this, but you probably already know, Pela is able to reduce the defense on her ultimate. So if you use Pela's ultimate, Silverwolf is now able to regenerate energy a bit faster. However, Silverwolf can of course defense shred herself. Now let's move on to the next character. We will be staying in the ice element because the next character is going to be Xiang. The reason I think that Xiang is actually able to benefit from Silverwolf's abilities because of this bonus ability. This basically means that he's able to dish out more damage if you're able to implant the ice weakness on an enemy. Now, if we take a look at some of his Eidolons, which I don't expect anyone to have as well, but I still want to mention it, is his E1. Whenever he attacks a frozen enemy, he deals additional ice damage equal to 60% of his attack. If you have an ice weakness on the enemy, and you are able to weakness break with the ice element, then the enemy will be frozen, which means that you are able to make use of this Eidolon. Pairing Xiang with Silverwolf and Pela can be a good thing, because if Silverwolf does have a high chance to implant the weakness based on how many characters of the same element there is on the team, then you will have at least 50% chance to implant the ice weakness if you run Xiang with Pela and Silverwolf. However, we still don't know how her weakness implant works. So let's move on to the next character, who is also in the hunt path, and that's going to be Xiang. Xiang benefits a lot from the enemy being weakness broken, but she's also able to weakness break the enemies very fast herself. So I want to start up with her talent. When an enemy has their weakness broken on the field, Xiang's speed increases by a percentage for 2 turns. So this is of course pretty decent. Now I do want to move on to her skill. She deals physical damage to a single enemy, and then she have a chance to trigger sword stance, which will deal additional physical damage equal to a percentage of her attack. If the enemy is inflicted with weakness break, sword stance is guaranteed to trigger, which means that if she attacks a weakness broken enemy, she will deal additional physical damage. Her ultimate doesn't really benefit from the enemy being weakness broken, however I do still want to talk about it. Whenever she uses her ultimate, she deals damage to one enemy, and then she advances her action forward by 100%, meaning that after she uses her ultimate, she will be able to attack right after. So her ultimate is the reason I said that Xiang is able to break the shields very fast, because you can't basically attack 3 times in a row. Worst case scenario, you are doing a basic attack, then ultimate, and then basic attack. And in the best case scenario, you will be doing a skill into a ultimate into a skill, which will deal a lot of damage, but also deplete the toughness bar very fast. One of her bonus abilities also benefits from the enemy being weakness broken. After using basic attack or skill, if there's an enemy on the field with weakness break, Xiang's action is advanced forward by 15%. So that's of course very good since she's now able to just attack more often. Now I do want to talk about her Eidolon as well. Of course I don't expect anyone to have Eidolons. However, she is featured on the current banner, so people might have gotten some of her Eidolons. The Eidolon that I'm going to talk about is her E1. After using a skill on a weakness broken enemy, regenerate 1 skill point. This is very good because if we take a look at her best scenario that I just mentioned, where you skill and then use your ultimate and then skill again, you're pretty much not using any skill points in those 3 attacks while doing a lot of damage. So all in all, I do think that Silverwolf and Xiang is a very great pair. And I do also want to mention that the only free-to-play healer that we have at the moment is Natasha, who is a physical type as well. So that means that you might have a higher chance to inflict physical weakness on the enemy. However, again, like I said before, we still don't know how the skill works. Another character that I want to mention is actually the featured 5-star on the current banner, and that's going to be Jing Juan. The reason for this is pretty much not anything from Jing Juan himself, but from his Lightning Lord. I don't want to go too in depth, but pretty much the Lightning Lord is able to hit up to 10 times with his follow-up attack, and each hit of the Lightning Lord is able to shred down the shields on the enemy. For comparison, 2 hits from the Lightning Lord is equivalent to 1 hit of the basic attack in terms of the shield damage. So you can imagine that 10 hits on the same enemy will deal a lot of damage, but also shred down the shields very fast. So I did of course want to mention this. However, of course, most of the time you will be using Jing Juan against multiple enemies because that's where he excels at. But in my opinion, he's also great against single target enemies just for this reason alone. But of course I do know that if you're getting Silverwolf, you have probably skipped Jing Juan. Now the last character that I actually want to mention is Kahmeeko. I know that Kahmeeko isn't used a lot, mainly because she is considered very weak compared to other characters. However, that doesn't mean that she won't work very well with Silverwolf. Pretty much whenever an enemy is weakness broken, she will gain 1 point of charge. And whenever she reaches 3 points, she will do a follow-up attack, which will deal damage to all enemies. A thing that this talent doesn't mention is that on enemies who are bosses, if you break their weakness, it actually counts for 3 points. Meaning that if you break the weakness on a boss, you will instantly get the follow-up attack. So if you have her with Silverwolf and she's able to implant a fire weakness on a boss, this will definitely help out Kahmeeko. And if you're able to weakness break with the fire element, you're able to inflict burn, which means that you are actually able to do more damage with your skill because of a bonus ability. There's of course another bonus ability that helps her inflict burn herself, but I do still want to mention this. Do I think Kahmeeko is going to be the best pair with Silverwolf? Probably not. But do I think that she's going to be a bit better with Silverwolf? Yes, definitely. Overall, every character in this game is going to benefit from Silverwolf being able to weakness implant. So you can pretty much use Silverwolf with any other character if you want to. As of me recording this, we still don't know how her weakness implant works, but I'm still very excited, and I do think that Silverwolf is going to be very universal, since you're pretty much able to just throw her in any team if you want to. And also because we are getting a free 4-star light cone that's actually pretty decent for her. So let me know what you think. If I missed something or you disagree with something, feel free to leave a comment. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.